This is the show where we inspire you to build your next Bionicle MOC. And look, I get it, making MOCs can be tough, especially if you have a small collection and you have very few pieces. So let's look at some MOCs today with a low part count, and see if we can give you some ideas that can keep you building even if you're on a budget or you don't have many pieces. The first MOC today is 8746 Vizak Killer by Ivan Martinov. So we got a tiny cute version of this official Vizak Bionicle set, and I think it's super cute. Now, one bonus to building a really tiny version of the Vizak is it's a much easier way to army build them. It would probably cost you a little bit too much to have like an army of 20 Vizak sets, but it might be a bit more manageable if you built them like this. So if you do want a huge battalion of Vizak, maybe you could do something like this. That would be really cool, right? Anyway, the MOC itself, it uses pieces in some very fun ways. I love how they've made this tiny Ratuka spinner up the top here on the back. So it uses one of these 2x2 silver pieces. Now this piece comes in a larger part family of pieces, so this whole lot of pieces appeared in this specific Avengers set. You can see it on this AIM Guy's jetpack. It's a rather unique piece and it works surprisingly well at conveying that Ratuka spinner on this smaller scale. It's also great to see the Vizak body having been recreated using just Zaktan's upper leg armor instead of that huge bulky Vizak body piece. And I think that's actually a really cool idea. Can you achieve the same rough look and shape of something that is much larger, but with a smaller piece? I think if you kind of go in with that philosophy, it's going to be a lot easier to build a MOC with a low part count. And I think you could say the same thing for the pincers here. Instead of using the pincers that we see on the official set, they're using these blade pieces that came on this smaller Ninjago set. And honestly, they translate really well into Vizak pincers. Man, the nice part uses just seem to come so easily when you're building a tiny MOC like this. It's wonderful. Yeah, maybe if you're someone that's like, I really want to refine my skills at using pieces in clever ways, coming up with nice part usages, maybe building smaller MOCs like this is the perfect thing to help train that skill. But still, beautiful MOC. Up next is a revamp of the Fiku Spider by Johan Dukish. Now, the original set for this, it was already pretty small and already had a very low part count, but that doesn't mean that you can't remake it with modern pieces and still give it a low part count. The most notable upgrade here is of course the use of this octagonal plate piece. It came in a set much like this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle polybag. This is an older set, but it checks out. And this piece still appears in many modern sets as well. This was just the first thing that came to mind when I was looking up images to showcase what it came in, so there. And then of course the legs are made up using the legendary Exoforce robot arm piece. They appear in many other sets as well in multiple colors, but they're most known for being in Exoforce sets because that's where they debuted. But yeah, they work great because this is much more posable than the original set was, at least on the leg design, and it just looks really cool. Now, sure, this MOC is very similar to the original set. You might be like, there's not much of a point of revamping this. But sometimes you just gotta build something to scratch that creative itch. Even if it is just a small little thing, sometimes that's all you need to just feel a nice sense of fulfillment. So why not just build something small and fun like this, especially if you're someone that's very strapped for time and you're like, I only have like 20 minutes to build something. Well, why not build something small like this, and then you get yourself a cute little MOC that can sit on your desk, and you can have it right by your computer while you do some work or homework or whatever. Building something small is still a good way to get in a little bit of extra building time, so do something like this in the future if you're someone that's hungry to build but doesn't have much time. It's something to consider. Now, for a Cliff Lobster by Toa Fanette. I really enjoy all this outdoor photography. It feels like this is fresh out of a nature documentary and they're photographing this rahi in its natural habitat. And also the lighting at the beach that day was on point. It showcases this MOC very nicely. So a couple of clever part usages here. We can see these Motoro claw pieces on the head, but they're not silver like they are on Motoro, they're actually red. So where did these come in red? Well, they appeared on one of my favorite Exoforce sets. It's the Combat Crawler X2. You can see this part on the front of the pincers on this wonderful set. And honestly, I think they look very good on this MOC. We also have these interesting pieces being used on the leg design. We can see this same piece used on this Ninjago temple. It's the red piece there towards the top of the temple, and that works very nicely for a leg design too. But while I'm looking at all the individual pieces on this MOC and saying, it comes in this set, and it looks very nice, what a clever part use, I have no idea what this piece is here that makes up the bulk of the torso. There's some sort of long rectangular thing in red. Maybe it's from a Technic crane or something. Honestly, I have no idea what that piece is. I don't think I've ever seen it before. But if you know what it is, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious as to what the heck is going on there. But hey, still, building a fun, cute little rahi like this with a lower part count, that's always fun. And taking it to the beach and photographing it, even better. Aiden Builds has built himself a fun little table scrap now. Now, if you're not familiar with the term table scrap, it is a sort of niche LEGO term. Basically, it just means like a small mock that you built with random parts or whatever was on your desk, or you're just kind of messing around with pieces. It's not really meant to be any kind of like serious mock. It's just something small or just something a bit more experimental. You're really just like having fun playing and messing around with pieces. But what I love about this mock is the fact that it's repeated a lot of these bear trap pieces. We saw these on a lot of G2 sets. Umarak the Hunter, for example, had 2 of them on his shoulders that actually came off and became this cute little trap monster thing. But I love the look that's been created here when they are repeated like this. Repetition is just such a brilliant way to come up with really clever part usages. So why not make some random table scraps and use them as a chance to experiment with interesting patterns or repeated textures or repeated pieces? Maybe you could accidentally come up with something awesome that could actually inspire another mock. It's almost like good practice, but you're still getting hands-on and building with LEGO, which is fun. I mean, heck, even just looking at this mock here, the repeated use of those bear trap pieces, that kind of looks like an interesting spine design on a dinosaur, or heck, it could even look cool on the back of a Rakshi mock. So, random experimentation like this, it could be the perfect creative impetus to give you future ideas for other stuff. It's worth trying. Oh, and this big old dark red dish in the center here, that comes on this LEGO Disney Princess set. Strictly speaking, it's not a Bionicle piece, but hey, system pieces can still be integrated very nicely into your Bionicle-focused builds. Sapphire has built an adorable little mock that didn't actually have a name. And I love that it's using the LEGO Planet piece, specifically the one from the TIE Bomber set. Now, these planet pieces are so annoyingly specific that you would think they'd be difficult to use in, Bionicle or any kind of LEGO creation. I mean, this is like a giant asteroid belt in the shape of a planet. That feels too specific. Turns out that's not the case though. I've seen so many clever and creative uses for all of these different planet pieces. They're kind of the best. And this is one example of a very clever and very creative use of it. A fun death ball with giant teeth, tiny cute little eyes and wings on the top of the head. It feels like some sort of monster that you would see in a video game like Mario or some other kind of like 80s video game. It's adorable and creepy at the same time. And the fact that the jaw is also posable, this is the best. So why not build a mock with a lower parts count and specifically build it around a piece that you think's a little bit more difficult to use or that you have sitting in a drawer and you never touch at all? Big, weird, bulky pieces. Why not build a mock based purely off of that piece, much like this one here? Table scraps or low part count mocks like this are the perfect playground for pieces like that. So we do have an image here of the insides without those planet pieces attached, and it's really great to see the inner workings here. I especially love the use of a crater piece for the tongue. Of course, the crater were inside the different Rakshi sets, but hey, turns out they work very nicely for a tongue. The unique shape of it there is just the best. It's a very clever part use, not just for the crater, for pretty much everything on this mock. And then finally we have a mock called Conk Bop, and it's built by Joxon. Now, the amount of character and personality that's been packed into this mock, which still has very few pieces, that's just insanely cool. Now, honestly, I think so much of what comes down to these mocks having so much personality and character is the eye design, using these stickered eyes or these printed 1x1 white round tiles for the eyes. Either one of them, it adds a lot. Eyes are the window to the soul, as they say, and it is certainly a pretty easy and very effective way to pour in a bunch of character into a build to put an interesting eyepiece on there. Something else that adds a lot of character here are the different teeth designs. The first one, the purple one, using those white dot pieces that of course came in many different dot sets. They look very much like teeth. Great idea to do that. But then I love on the other one here, the teal guy, just having those exposed studs on a 1x4 snot brick. It looks like they have missing teeth that have probably been like punched out from a previous boxing match. Both of them, again, showcase so much character. Teeth designs and eye designs, man. Who knew they'd do so much for a character? Also, these boxing gloves, that's super clever. It's using some of the helmet pieces from the larger Technic minifigures that used to appear in Technic sets. Unfortunately, they did away with Technic figures. I'd love to see them return. They were so cool. But yeah, they had larger helmets. And of course, minifigures have their smaller standard helmets. And you can sandwich the two together like that, and it makes for the perfect boxing glove design. That's amazing. And to top it all off, we have the use of some Clickit pieces here. Clickits, of course, was a precursor to Lego Dots. To some degree, it was a very like jewelry-focused Lego theme, and it gave us some weird pieces like these interesting stars and other like, sparkly different pieces. And using them here to give this character this like dazed or knocked out or kind of confused look, like he's fresh out of a cartoon. Genius. Joxon is a genius. He's the best of us, one of the best Bionicle builders today. It's just incredible to see how he's packed in so much, so many clever part uses, so much character and personality to builds that don't use many pieces. This really is probably one of the best examples of a really good low part count mock. There's so much you can do, man, even if you're only using a few pieces. So there you go. Hopefully at least one of those mocks gave you some inspiration for a future mock that you could build. Grab a couple pieces, and only a couple, and see if you can build a really cool mock with a low part count. Also, feel free to check the description below to see more from the builders that I showcased today. Give their social media a like, a follow, comment on their posts, and let them know what you think. Additionally, if you want to see your own mocks on the Bionicle Inspiration series, you can submit them to the submission email that's on your screen right now. And also, in the description below are links to my own social media. I've recently posted a mock on my Instagram. You can go check that one out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy building, and bye for now.